Welcome to the bullpen.
Not had any alcohol.
I have not.
Okay. Now, how about marijuana? Did you have had that?
Excuse me?
Marijuana?
I'm sorry? I didn't understand. What did you say?
I said, how about marijuana?
No.
No marijuana?
No.
Okay. Go ahead and hang out right here for me. I don't think I have any. Yeah, I had a stash in here somewhere. I don't really know where it's at. He's gonna refuse anyway.
I think it's a combination of the THC for sure. I didn't really evaluate them, but you can definitely see impairment for the THC, and then thinking his medications, prescribed medications, affecting it too. It's amplifying the effect of the thing. So.
I'm gonna take him.
In a story we covered just a few days ago in Indisputable, we now have the exclusive interview, in-depth interview with Mr. Dakarai Larriett, who was the intended victim of what seemed to be a heinous crime at that moment, planting drugs and more. Michigan officers did this. We're going to talk about it. Mr. Larriett, good day, sir. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Richey.
Thank you for being here. I wish it was under better circumstances. This was a hell of a thing. On the day of reporting, not only did these officers seemingly try to find drugs to plant on you once they realized you were not on drugs, nor did you have any, they also forced you to defecate in front of them and made insinuations that they were going to find drugs in that as well. And it continued on and on. If you would, summarize in your own words what you experienced that day and the details of what happened.
Sure. So basically, I was just driving a friend home, driving while black and in an expensive car. And the police pulled me over for no probable cause and put me through what felt like endless sobriety tests again and again and again.
Can you describe those sobriety tests?
Oh, absolutely. Heel to toe, putting my finger to my nose, standing on one leg. At one point, I was asked, do I know the alphabet? It was just demeaning. And it was back and forth between the two officers. And it was clearly intended to break my spirit. So that went on, I believe, about an hour. And ultimately, they decided that I was both intoxicated and high on marijuana, and that I needed to be tested at the local hospital. And the drug piece, we can talk about that later because I learned that later after getting my Freedom of Information Act request returned. Went to the hospital, immediately tested negative for alcohol. They decided they wanted to jail me anyway because the marijuana test would take 2 weeks to come back. So they wanted me to sober up and be safe in the jail, which is ridiculous because in the state of Michigan, marijuana is fully legal for recreational use. So why couldn't I just walk out of that jail across the street to my house and sleep in my bed? The whole point was humiliation. So getting to the jail, and they are booking me, scanning me, making sure I have no contraband on my body. And they notice in my stomach an anomaly. And they start scanning me and scanning me and scanning me again. And in that process, Officer Kenya goes, that looks like a bag of drugs. Confess now or you will face a trafficking charge. So all night, he was trying to place me in some type of drug crime. I did need to use the restroom at some point in that night and asked to do so. I was taken to a public area. It was like a theater for pooping. And basically, he told me, do not flush as I went to use the restroom. After that, I did ultimately get the test done by someone who knew what they were doing. And they said I just had gas bubbles in my stomach. And I think most people would after being harassed, terrorized, and stalked all night. I was booked, spent the night in the jail, and walked out the next day.
What charges did they affix to you?
The original charge was operating under the influence of drugs. And I believe there was some comment about alcohol, but ultimately they were trying to get me for that one.
So they charged you with still basically a DUI, a DWI. And
A
you,
drug, yes.
right. And you passed the field sobriety test, and you also passed the blood test issued by the hospital. But they said that the secondary test, or at this point, third test, would take 2 weeks to come back. So they're going to have you just sit in jail
Yes.
for those 2 weeks. And then
That's what-
they embarrass you by making you defecate in front of them and et cetera. Give us some scenarios, the scene of this responding officer, because you didn't realize that they tried to find drugs. And I want to go back to this point because it's very important. You didn't know this during the moment because they obviously are hiding it from you, but clearly.
And they continue to hide from me.
And they try to keep it away from you, correct?
Well, they continue to. They are not releasing clean, unredacted video. There are complete gaps in the video. There are gaps in audio or complete omissions of audio. And I actually talked to the passenger that you don't see in the main video. And I said, well, what was happening in this 1 minute gap in audio? And he said, oh, that was when they were asking me if the car really belonged to you.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
It was really chilling for me to see the officer go to the trunk and talk about finding a stash. Okay. At this point, they're utilizing vernacular as if they are, well, common drug dealers,
Yes.
which in a way they may actually be. So, right. So why would you have a stash of drugs randomly in your car? And if you don't have it now, that means you planted it likely on somebody else. But they went to the car, and to me, it's so chilling because of how all of the officers were down with the play.
Yes.
Nobody had to synchronize, nobody had to huddle, but they were down with this. What happened to where you got access to this video? And when you did, how did you feel?
Oh, I'm angry, Dr. Richey. You know, I was an executive at the biggest company in Benton Harbor.
Wow.
I'm an NYU MBA. I've never even been arrested. So where did they get trafficking from? Clearly, that's a trope. Then Kenya comes around to the car talking about fruity, fruity, fruity. All of the tests showed that I was negative. So he clearly was a homophobe. So I'm just very upset. I'm upset with Michigan State Police. They are withholding information from my attorney and me. And I'm upset, frankly, with the governor. And I'm upset with the Colonel Grady. We need this resolved immediately. We filed our complaint in June. And if I can count, that's more than 90 days. The investigation should be over. And we all saw the video. So for me, it's over. I need these officers fired.
I would say they should be under criminal investigation, in addition to not being anywhere near
Yes.
the sanctity of an office of public trust. So let's talk about the filing, the filing that you and your attorney have levied against them. In this filing, what are the specific claims made?
Well, it's so interesting. Initially, we thought it really was a matter of discrimination. So,
Okay.
while black, right? Then, obviously, we get the videos and we had to expand it to planting drugs and trying to implicate me in a drug crime, which would have ruined my life. Then it expands again, Dr. Richey, to a criminal conspiracy to manipulate the evidence and to conceal.
Yeah.
So we have not quite yet made that third update to the lawsuit yet. We want to give them a moment to come clean and give us the evidence immediately.
Did you all file in state court or federal court?
This is federal. It's a civil rights violation.
Good, good.
We can't
And
trust Michigan. We cannot.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Good because it takes it out of their home court advantage, basically. At this point, how many officers do you know were involved?
Well, that's the chilling part. We thought that it was two dumb cops. And now, if the records department is manipulating videos, how high does this go in Michigan State Police? And what is the governor doing? I got a form letter back from the governor about 2 weeks ago that she cannot participate or intervene in these types of matters. I think she needs to get on the phone with Colonel Grady, who is the head of Michigan State Police, and figure out what's happening like today.
You know, I have a different point of view than some. I think the colonel is well aware of what's happening. I believe the governor is well aware as to what's happening. You have a culture inside of policing, and even though the rules may say one thing, the culture says another. And as I say all the time, culture eats policy alive every day of the week. This is problematic. You could have had your entire life destroyed over a lie.
Yes.
And they would have made it seem as if they just found the drugs. Yep, their investigation was proper. And the fact that he did it or attempted to do it to you, seemingly in that video, is an indicator that they have done it to others.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And the other thing that makes me so angry is just yesterday, I saw Officer Kanya's wedding website. So he's engaged, he's out and about in Benton Harbor, he's taking pictures at the fountain, and I'm dealing with trauma. Like, I can't go a day without crying spontaneously. I can't sleep past 2 a.m. anymore.
Brother, we support you. I want you to hear the love and the support that we have for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've gone through something that 99.9% of the population would never experience. But I want you to know you have taken control of the narrative by doing what you're doing, standing up, providing leadership, articulating the facts, being willing to talk to the public. We got the best video from your own YouTube page.
Thank
you. Because you advocated for justice. Yes. And you happen to be the person that needed that justice.
It's not just for me. When I was in that jail, I knew I was not the only innocent person there.
That's right.
This is a criminal conspiracy, and it has to end immediately.
Brother, your fight will change things not only for the future, but it may also have the effect of changing some things that have been done unjustly in the past, because you are creating exposure. The best way to get rid of darkness, as Dr. King would say, is to expose it to light. Darkness and light, they are not co-equals. Anywhere there is light, darkness flees. And this is how corruption permeates. It permeates in the dark, and you've been able to bring it to the light. I am interested to know, sir, how, when you did the Freedom of Information request, and you did get at least some of this video, even though there's redaction and editing, they left, whoever gave this to you, left a very key part in there. I don't know if that was done intentionally or not, but if they were supposed to erase all of the potential criminal activity of the officers, they did a bad job, because clearly you see them going to the trunk trying to find their stash for you. How do you think that happened?
Well, I had this conversation with my sister's mom, and I said, there must have been an idiot in the records department that released this. And she said, don't think about it like that. Maybe there was an angel in the records department that let that go out, and they just couldn't do it anymore.
Man, is your attorney confident you can get some of these officers under oath anytime soon?
Well, we'll see. If I were in their shoes, I would definitely try not to go to trial.
Yeah. Since this has happened, has the department targeted you in any other way?
Well, personally, no. I live in Alabama now. I have
Okay,
no intention of going back to that state unless it's to
good
see
for you.
the two troopers in trial. But I will tell you this, Dr. Richey, and thank you for asking. A number of my friends have helped me to expose this on social media. And what they're saying is that the Michigan State Police are stalking their social media in a very aggressive and intimidating manner.
This is just, it's so sad, man.
Yes.
It's just completely insane.
Yes.
But people like you standing up, opportunities to share. And when I tell you, dear brother, you got millions of people who are supportive of you, who appreciate what you're doing. They want you to feel the love they have for you. When I saw you going through that during the back and forth, it seemed so ridiculous, as if
It was so
somehow,
hard. It was so
yeah.
hard to just.
I mean,
Uh,
you kept your cool, but you were confused as to why. You know,
yes.
what's this back and forth?
But I was
The
starting to break down. I was starting to break down towards the end, right before they took me.
Yeah, who
And
wouldn't? Yeah,
it,
the person you were with, because you were driving somebody.
yes.
What interaction, if any, did they have with the officers?
Well, that is the dash cam and body cam that I'm referring to that's super redacted.
Mhm.
They were questioning him, obviously on the right side, the passenger side, if the
Okay.
car belonged to me, which is just so disgusting because one, the tag is my name. Two, you did the whole registration review. Like it's my car. I'm an executive in the town. If they had any brains, they would have looked at my ID and saw where I lived. So that was the thrust of the conversation with him is, come on, you can tell us, it's okay. Where did he get this car from?
How has this impacted your career, your life since?
I'm just so fortunate that I'm an entrepreneur. I would not be able to advocate for myself like this if I were kind of towing the line for corporate America.
Mm.
And, I had to leave corporate slavery and work for myself.
For those who are watching now, for those who will see this later, what would you say to them about police misconduct and the corruption that you faced, and how would you empower them?
Yeah. So we're not going to make our cities safer by stalking and terrorizing a portion of the population. Like, let's think about how we police in a way that's ethical and fair and effective.
Would you say that this has made you a stronger advocate to get rid of corruption and police misconduct?
For sure, for sure. This cannot continue. And I just am heartbroken to think about people who are still in that jail. And maybe they don't have $250 for a Freedom of Information Act request. Maybe they don't have money to hire an attorney and pay a retainer up front. I shouldn't be free in Alabama because I have money. That's not right.
Right. You said one of the most powerful points I've probably ever heard, because it goes back to the dynamic of this justice system is set up for those who can afford the
Yes.
best defense,
Yes.
not because they are appointed the best defense. Dear brother, we applaud your leadership, your courage. Anything that we can do for you at Indisputable, you just let us know and it's done. For those who are watching this and they would like to follow you on your YouTube page, they can do so. You can give that out freely. That's where I found much of the information, and I'm so glad you put it out there so clearly. And I said, we have to do this story. So let people know how they can follow you in this case.
So anywhere on social is going to be under Dakarai Larriett as depicted on the screen. Please go to the videos and share, share, share. Please call Governor Whitmer. Please call Colonel Grady. We've got to get these troopers off the street. people are reaching out to me saying they've had the same experience as recently as September. This is insane. It hasn't stopped now.
That's right. And it won't stop until there's great exposure and a great transfer of these officers out of positions of public trust. Dear brother, we are appreciative for you joining us today and spending so much time with us. Thank you
Thank you, Dr.
for your
Richey.
time today. All right.